Hey everyone, I'm Ashley Park with IdeateTV, and today we are at Stan Lee's Comic-Con. I'm here with Dan Glut, who is a writer, screenwriter, and director, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what he's working on. First, though, I want to know, how did you get started in the industry and in writing?
Well, when I started out, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I kind of wanted to be a rock star, and I knew what I didn't want. I knew what I didn't want to do, which is work in a regular job. So when I got out of USC Film School, I had this opportunity to get in a rock band that was being produced by Mike Nesmith, who was then one of the Monkees. So I went with that for several years. When that kind of fizzled out, I had to figure out something else, and I always liked writing. When I was a kid, I used to write amateur stories and put out fanzines and that sort of thing. And I had the opportunity to write for a monster movie magazine. And after a couple issues, I was editing the magazine. It was called Modern Monsters. That kind of led to writing novels and nonfiction books about things I was interested in, like dinosaurs and vampires and things. And then I had an opportunity to write some comic books for the Warren magazines. That started a whole new career. I did a TV commercial around that time too with Dick Clark. Remember Dick Clark? And so I've always, whenever an opportunity came up, I went with it. A lot of people turn down opportunities, but opportunities are never lost. They're just passed on to someone else. And that led to the comic book business. I wrote comic books for a decade or more for Marvel, DC, and everything. And when that kind of fizzled out, because I was living in California, the animation industry was right around the corner. I ended up writing scripts for Hanna-Barbera, Filmation, Marvel Productions, Disney. And then when that kind of fizzled out, I had an opportunity to do some documentary videos and some movies. So it was just like a progression, one thing kind of leading to another. So now mostly what I do is make movies, low budget, independent horror films. And I've gotten back in the comics after a couple of decades, writing for a magazine called The Creeps, which is kind of like the magazine I started writing for, which was called Creepy, and the same kind of stories. So that kind of come full circle.
That's amazing. You've done so much, and I love what you said about always taking those opportunities that other people were turning down. That's the way to do it.
And you can never give up, because no matter how low you get, that pendulum, when it can't go any farther, it can only swing the other direction, but you can't give up. But right now I'm mostly making movies, and I have a movie called Dances with Werewolves, which will premiere on Halloween in just a few days from now when we do this. And it's a very traditional werewolf movie. It's got full moons, silver bullets, all that sort of thing. And then I'm in post-production on this, which is Tales of Frankenstein, because next year is the 200th anniversary of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, her novel. And I want to tap into that. So we made a very traditional type of Frankenstein movie. It's got brain transplants and villages with torches and castles and mad scientists and all that. So it's a lot of fun. I think it'll do very well.
Absolutely, that's so fun. I love it. Where can people see these films when they come out?
Okay, the Dances with Werewolves will be out. Will be on all the streaming. It'll have like maybe a 3-month run. After that, it'll be out on Blu-ray and DVD. Tales of Frankenstein we still have to finish post-production on it. I'm still getting money together for that, and people don't work real fast. It takes a long time to do a music score and color corrections and everything. And so that doesn't have to come out until next year, but it must come out next year, because otherwise we miss that anniversary.
Absolutely. I'm a producer myself. I know how long post-production is. It can be a really grueling process. But anyway, lastly, what would you say is maybe your favorite project that you've worked on, or maybe a couple, since I know you've done so much?
Well, one of them is the current Frankenstein movie. And we're doing also a graphic novel, Frankenstein, Tales of Frankenstein, a graphic novel. There's model kits in the works, CD soundtrack, and 3 books. 3 books including the graphic novel. So that's one of them. That's a real close to my heart project. I wrote a book with Sylvia Cherkis on an artist named Charles R. Knight some years ago, an artist who was starting to fall into obscurity because he died in the middle 1950s, and he started out in the very early part of the 20th century. And he was the first artist to reconstruct dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals based on the original fossils in a realistic, scientific way. And then also some of the music I've done, I'm very proud of that. When I was in that band I told you about. A lot of the stuff I did, I'm not real proud of, like the Saturday morning cartoons. Or something. I used to write for teen magazines, and I'm not too proud about that. But they paid the bills and paid the rent.
Absolutely. Okay, actually I did think of one more question. For young aspiring writers or any aspiring writer or director, do you have any advice for them?
Oh, plenty. First of all, if you have a natural talent for any of those things, writing, acting, art, you should, as Joseph Campbell says, you should follow your bliss. That's what you should do in life. Don't treat it as a hobby. That's your day job. And so many people don't realize they can make their living off doing something they really love to do and get paid for it. Second is, in the early days, there's going to be a lot of rejections. Take it with a grain of salt, let it roll off your back. You can get rejected for all kinds of reasons that have nothing to do with your work or your worth as a person. It might be you just caught the editor or the director or the story editor on a bad day, and if you're an actor and you're 6 feet tall and you have red hair and they just hired another actor who's 6 feet tall with red hair in a leading role, you're probably not going to get the part. So you gotta let that. Don't get discouraged, what I'm saying, and just never give up. Never give up. And I've gone through some really bad times, but I've never given up. And now I'm doing exactly what I want to do.
I think that's amazing advice. Thank you so much, Don.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm Ashley Park with IdeateTV.